Hello and welcome back to Off Track Podcast with me, Dave Neal. I'm delighted to say my guest this week has scored points at World Superbike races. He's won at Macau, he's won at the Ulster, he's won at the Northwest, he's won 14 TTs and he's won British Superbike races. What a great guest to bring on before the start of the British Superbike season. Before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoy what we do. Every single subscription helps get this show out to more eyes and more ears and raises its profile immensely. So if you can, please do subscribe. That's enough from me. Let's get on with it. Ladies and gentlemen, the fantastic Peter Hickman. Enjoy.
We haven't sat down since 2021?
We did 2023.
Did we 2023?
April 23, you, Coops and Josh talking about the Northwest.
Was that April 23? I thought it was 21.
No, it's 23.
Oh, I'll let you
Also, before that...
2 years, though.
Yeah, but before that, the last time we did a one-to-one was over the phone when I did Motorpod in 2014. I think it was your first year going to the
city. Yeah, it was, yeah. 2014 was, yeah.
That's how we do. So I've been far too remiss in doing this, mate. It's been a while.
We're here now.
At PHR Performance.
We are at PHR HQ.
Indeed. Peter Hickman, good to see you, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Thank you very much. I'm all right, thank you.
Good, man. Thank you for doing this, man. It's late in the day. You're a busy man. You're here, there and everywhere.
8 o'clock, is it 8 o'clock?
He's getting on for 8 o'clock at night on a Tuesday night in the middle of Lincolnshire. Yeah. And here he is, ever the professional.
We're just starting the next job of the day.
Well, you've been away at Triumph all day. You've had a lot on, haven't you? And you've been, what do you say we've done earlier on? 20 odd days on the bike already this year?
22, yeah.
22 days.
22 days riding on circuit so far. So,
which is just incredible so far.
A couple of thousand Ks on my training bike, my BM, which is not, in fact, it is in the back. Maybe we can't quite see it. It's got no fairings on at the minute.
No, but we can see the fly covered.
You can see these two, which are the genuine
babies.
Yeah, these are the two Superstock bikes, 2022 Gas Monkey FHO BMW, and the 2023 Superstock bike, which obviously currently holds that record. They're both, as they finished, they've never even started since. That is, as they finished the race, they've never been touched.
Are you going to be like John McGuinness when he wheels that the Fireblade around with him? It's still got the same tyres, still got the same.
Yeah, literally, that is
everything is as it should be.
Yeah, they've been to a few shows here, there, and everywhere, but actually they are the genuine articles. They are as they finished. They are the Beautiful. 2 bikes. Yeah, super.
We'll come on to the TT side of things before too long because that fascinates me. As all the listeners and viewers know, it absolutely fascinates me. What I want to start with is not a curveball per se, but mate, talk to me about 2024. We didn't see the best of Peter Hickman in 2024. Let's get that bit out of the way first.
Get out of the way, yeah.
Tell me about that first.
Yeah,
what happened, mate?
It was a hard year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what? Racing isn't easy. I wish it was. No, I don't wish it was. It's better that it is hard, and you don't get the really big highs without the really big lows. And 24 was a pretty low for me. From BSB to road racing at the Isle of Man TT, of course. Actually, the Northwest wasn't so bad for me. Probably one of my best Northwests. But yeah, it just didn't work the way we wanted it to work. It wasn't through lack of trying, that's for sure. You know, I was trying really hard in myself. The team were trying really, really hard. There was outside influences that were not helping here and there. I wasn't particularly well at certain points of the year as well in myself. Health-wise, that's just life, isn't it? But we kept going. We kept having a dig at it. There was still some elements that were probably not as bad as it looks. The problem from BSB in particular, the times are so close that you only have to be 2/10 off, which is nothing, and you're miles away. You know, at Brands, the final round of the year, bear in mind everyone knows I had a really tough year. I actually qualified 7th at Brands. Not bad at all. All right, not setting the world alight, don't get me wrong. But I was 1/10 off the front row. 1/10.
Which against that field at that time of the season.
Nothing, is it? Yeah. Against my teammate Josh, who did a much better job than me throughout the whole of 2024, really. You know, I actually, throughout the entire lap, was faster than he was, bar for one corner where he gained I think he gained 2/10 in one corner, and everywhere else I was ever so slightly faster than him. But because he gained 2/10 in that one corner, he ended up on the front row, and I was on row 3. And the people are going, "What's up with you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have no idea how close I actually am it just looks bad on a result sheet, and that was Brands at the last round. When I actually started to come a little bit more back into my usual normal self, and health-wise I was a lot better and all the rest of it, and I started to actually get a lot closer to the front again. Probably wasn't in position, wasn't particularly much better, although inside the top 10 in BSB is no mean feat by any stretch of the imagination, but it was better than the rest of the year. But the actual gap in time to the front was a lot less. Like, that's over a race distance, not just one lap.
But that's how you measure, isn't it? A lot of people, they just see the timesheets because they don't know different.
Yeah.
And we try and educate on the show when we try and do it. It's the important time for a lot of riders when you're not in the front three or the top five is your gap to the leader.
Yeah.
Because that's the measure of your true position, not the number that you are.
Correct.
You start the weekend off, you might be 35 seconds back, but by the end of the weekend, you might be 15. That's true progression.
Yeah, and especially when 3 races in BSB now as well, so you can actually judge your distance or your time, how far back you are per lap over a race distance, and you can understand if you're actually getting closer by the third race, which is always the idea, of course.
Absolutely.
Or whether you've taken the wrong step and gone backwards.
When you came out of the TT last year and everything that was going on, and you could see in your eyes and in your demeanor that it wasn't the true Pete. We saw it at Alton Park. 3 crashes in a weekend. You had the wrist injury as well that came out of that. Withdrew from Donington. I think it's second race on. I think you tried the first race, didn't you? Then withdrew the rest of the weekend.
No, they withdrew me from the whole weekend.
Oh, was it from the whole weekend?
Yeah,
I don't remember if you tried the first race or not.
No, I didn't.
Try not to look at my notes.
Yeah, going back to Alton Park, we had a 2-day test before the first round. Was going really, really well. I was 5th on day 1, top BMW. I actually did pretty good. Sorry, actually, it was round 2, wasn't it, Alton Park?
Yeah.
The first round was
Navarra, yeah.
I qualified 6th at Navarra, so I was on the second row. My races didn't go particularly well. There was something else that had happened, but anyway, it was nothing. It was just one of them things. I was actually fast enough at Navarra, and I was fast enough going into Alton Park. Unfortunately, I actually had a handlebar snap on me at Alton Park. The first crash at Alton Park was nothing to do with me whatsoever. I had the right-hand handlebar snap into turn 1, so probably one of the worst places you can ever have a problem like that at Alton Park was turn 1, and unfortunately that's where it happened. So I went down, hit the wall around 100 mile an hour, which was not very particularly nice. And I actually damaged my left wrist, which I don't really know how my left wrist got damaged, but it did. Obviously, I snapped the right-hand handlebar, went down, and some point in through the roll, or hitting the wall, or hitting a bike, I don't really know. I bruised the bone, so it was actually, in some respects, worse than breaking it, because the bruising takes longer than a break to heal. And we were talking weeks and weeks of that, where I could press in my hand there and it would make me yelp. So I'd actually bruised all the bones right in the center of my hand here, which also, when you're pressing on the bars or pulling and pushing, not ideal, which is why I was strapped up for quite a while. So that was the first crash at Alton Park. Nothing to do with myself. The second crash was probably one of the most weirdest crashes I've ever had. It was another really big, fast crash. You come out of Shell Oils, go through the next right-hander, which I don't even know what it's called, but it's just before the Britain chicane. I've always wondered how...
It's got a name, that one, has it?
It will have, but I've no idea.
There's some obscure one, like Water Tower, that you come through Clay Hill to Druids.
No idea what it was. But yeah, I crashed through there really strangely. I didn't do anything different to any other lap. Even on the data, I had the same lean angle, same speed, same brake pressure, same everything that I've done all weekend. And that lap, I went down. It was just one of them things. I hit the deck on another 130 mile an hour-ish. Went through the rector cell barrier. It looked really dramatic. I got kind of spun around and all sorts. I was actually fine. I was more annoyed more than anything. There was a couple of reasons I was annoyed. One was I didn't understand why I'd crashed. Second of all, I crashed through the second time in the weekend, which is never any good if you're crashing more than once. I'm not generally a crasher. And thirdly, we were pushed straight into qualifying, and I had it out a little bit with Stuart Higgs at the time, because Alton Park is one of, if not the hardest track in the country, and we had to go from 0 on that day to a qualifying lap. And for me, I think that was wrong, and I felt that was a dangerous thing to ask us to do, because normally, up until last year, we had a FP3.
Yeah.
So you had a 25-minute session before qualifying that meant that you could get yourself into the groove, you could get yourself warmed up, test new stuff if you wanted to, more setup time, whatever you want to call it. You had 25 minutes to sort yourself out. Now we had 0 and went straight into a qualifying lap. And with the way that the bikes are, with the way that the tyres are, generally the best lap's lap 1. So you've got to do an out lap and then absolutely try and nail a better than lap record lap straight away. And it didn't work for me. It probably wasn't necessarily the reason that I went down. Who really knows? We don't. But all of that built up a lot of frustration inside me. I went to see Stuart and kind of shouted at him a bit.
An open and frank discussion.
Maybe, yeah. He was actually really good, to be fair to him. You know, Stuart can be quite fiery himself. And in that position, I totally understand why. But, you know, we calmed down later on and we're all good and everything was fine. And actually, they introduced a 10-minute practice session before the qualifyings after that. Don't know if many people noticed, but there was always then a 10-minute session. And for me, even just the 10 minutes is enough.
I think it's useful for that. If you do have an issue, you've got that. Get your eye in.
Get your eye in. Get yourself warmed up. Job's a dream. Then you can try and do a time attack. And then the third crash of the weekend, who even knows? I mean, I crashed out of turn 1 this time. I high-sided. The team actually didn't want me to ride. And I kind of forced the issue into doing the final race. They felt like they wanted to rest me and make sure I was good. Bear in mind, we've got the TT coming up, which is a massive part of the year for us. But I forced it and said, no, I wanted to race, and then ended up falling off, which is probably about the worst thing that could have happened. But anyway, it did. I bashed my head a bit and I was bashed about. But anyway, I went to the Northwest and had a decent Northwest, won a couple of Super Twin races, finished on the podium on the Super Sport bike, finished on the podium on the big bike, which is my PHR bike actually, because FHO didn't go to the Northwest last year. So I finished second in the Superstock race, finished third in one of the Superbike races. No, I was third in the Superbike race and ran out of fuel, so that was not ideal.
That's true. I remember.
And then at Donington, it was the team's decision to pull me out. I actually qualified. I did the Friday free practice 1 and 2, and was 10th or 11th. So not too bad. And the team actually withdrew me from the rest of the weekend because they wanted to save me for the TT. Much to my dismay, because I want to race at the end of the day. No matter how much I'm hurting, I want to race a bike. And yeah, we had a little bit of a fallout about it, really, to be fair.
But also, it's unfinished business, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
And you need as much bumming seat time as possible before you hit the Northwest and the roads.
And especially if you're not in a good place. And I felt like I had been good and then it'd all gone a bit wrong. And I wanted to like put that to bed, do Donington, put in a couple of good races and then go TT. That's what I wanted to do. But unfortunately, it didn't work that way around.
Sorry, go on.
No. And then I was just going to say, and then TT definitely didn't work very well, did it?
For mental health, and especially from a motorcycle racer's point of view, the first thing you want to do whenever you have a bad time is get straight back out on the bike, because it's what you do. The fans and everything are great. It's great entertainment for us. But for riders personally, when you have issues like that, you just want to be back on your bike, out there on the circuit, doing what you do best. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You also want to clear it. Like the best thing to do after a crash even is to get back on the bike. It's not to go away for 2 weeks and then ride a bike, because you've got 2 weeks thinking about it. What you need to do is get back on the bike, and then that clears your head. You have a reset. So that's all I really wanted to do at Donington, was just reset myself, ready for the TT. But I did the first day. I was pretty fast, and unfortunately didn't do the rest of the weekend. But
something we can't change, isn't it?
Can't change it now.
We can't change.
Definitely too late to change it.
It's a bit late now. And all the changes that we've gone on since then, we'll come to those in a bit. It was so unusual to see you crash twice, because as a tradesman, you're not a crasher.
Generally, no. I mean, there haven't been years where I've crashed a lot. Just depends.
But you learn from those, and
yeah.
I mean, happy birthday recently as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. What 30?
38.
So, unfortunately, you've got a bit of maturity in there now, Hicky.
Yeah.
Dare I say it?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a crasher anyway.
No.
Even my first year in Superbike, which is always going to be the year where you crash the most, generally. And bearing in mind, I started in 2006 was my first year in Superbike. We used to have 2 1-hour free practices, 2 1-hour qualifyings, a warm-up and 2 races. We did a lot of riding back then.
Yeah.
Now we get 2 40-minute practices, a 10-minute 15-minute qualifying and straight into a race.
And 3 races.
Yeah, it's very different now. There's no time for setup. There's no time to get yourself into it so much. It's kind of, you got to be on the ball immediately. In my first year, even with all that riding, I think we had a lot more rounds then as well. I think it was 13 or 14, something like that. I crashed 5 times as an 18. Well, 18 to 19. I was 18 at the first round. I turned 19. And that was in my first year in Superbike race. I actually only crashed 5 times. And I was finishing inside the top 10 by the end of the year.
On the Hawk Kawasaki.
On a Hawk Kawasaki against factory Ducatis, and we're talking proper factory Ducatis, factory Hondas, factory Suzukis.
With all the whistles and bells, all electronics, everything. Pre the Evo period. And
pre
what we are
make
now.
Pre everything. So
there's Dunlops, everything was going on, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was factory Michelin.
Yeah.
The Honda crew had 2 Michelin trailers turn up at every round just for them two. You know, that's what we were racing against back then.
And the Suzuka specials.
Yeah, and I was finishing inside the top 10 by the end
Yeah.
of the year as a spunky 18, 19-year-old.
Which, I mean, we could go back. I know one thing, if we'd had longer, I was going to go back all the way through all these, but because I think it's a fascinating career.
It's a long one so far.
Which is great, because that's what you aim for, isn't it?
It is,
Everybody wants a long career in motorcycle racing.
Yeah, it's a shame it wasn't as professional right from the start and getting paid right from the start, but hey, that's life.
Or when you go back to the ultimate days and then being without a ride and then stepping in with RAF reserves, bless him, after Simon passed. What difficult times for Simon and his family, but there's an opportunity there then for you to almost step into his shoes, step into the team, and then that propelled you forward to where we are now. So it's an unusual path.
It is a very unusual path, yeah.
There's no real sports that you can do that like ours. And nobody will forget Simon and what he did.
No, not at all.
But also, Lee Hardy needed a rider at that time. So the sport moves on.
It does.
And it always will do. And the opportunity then became yours, and you never looked back from it.
No, it's been a snowball pretty much from there. I mean, TT literally rejuvenated my career. You know, from going from, in 2013, I finished 11th in the British Superbike Championship. So not horrendous, not brilliant, but not horrendous, and struggled to get a ride for the following year. You know, I couldn't get a ride, and people wanted big checks, and I didn't have a big checkbook. I never have had a big checkbook. I've done everything off experience, being fast and trying to beg, borrow and steal what I can where I can. It's it's not been because I've got a big bank balance, unfortunately. But then I think I also appreciate it a lot more because it's not come easy.
But then does that not make your outlook different to maybe others where you have had to work your arse off to make it happen? And then you get to PHR as we are today.
Yeah, I mean, now look, yeah.
And
here we are in the reception. 2 of my TT winning bikes, I mean, which I own. It's,
exactly.
a very different scenario to what it was 11 years ago.
Exactly that. And this is the bit that fascinates me about it all. I mean, I take my hat off to you because knowing you for the best part of 12 years and what you've been through and what you've had to go through to get where you are, for me, it's a great story on its own. So all the TT wins, the Ulster TT, the Northwest 200, British Superbike podiums and wins and lap records at Cadwell, and it's all there.
Yeah.
I think people forget over the years what you have achieved in BSB because the lights kind of shone on the roads more than anything.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But what are you now, 400 races?
Yeah, over 400.
It's going to be over 400 races now, isn't it?
I'm about 450ish, I think. If I get another 2 years in BSB, I'll be knocking on the 500 mark.
Yeah. And
so Russell, I think, has done the most amount of races.
He's done over 500, hasn't he?
No, I don't think he has.
Oh, has he not? Has nobody done 5 yet?
No one's done 500. I think I'm only a few behind Michael.
Okay. And he's still going strong, isn't he? He's doing it.
He is, yeah. Still fast.
The boy's fast.
He's still fast.
So when you went to the TT in 24, we'll get 24 done and dusted out of the way. So I want to talk about 810 and look ahead to the future and look back at the TT as well. What did you learn the most from TT last year? And then we'll close that chapter.
What did I learn the most?
Because I'll let you give you time to think about it. Because you've had such a huge amount of success over the last
4 years. Yeah,
and finishing on the podium and you've been twice done 4 in a week.
Yes,
told you I've done my racing.
Yeah.
But to have that kind of success and then go there and not be the Hicky that everybody was expecting when it's you, Davey, Michael, and Dean. Josh coming along strong as well.
Yeah.
But while you've got those guys there at the level of competition and not having the Hicky that we expected, what did you take out of last year?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think people forget I've actually only been winning for a very short amount of time at TT. It's like I've actually only won races at the TT in the last 5 years. The fact that I've got 14 is besides the point, which is phenomenal, by the way. And I never ever take that for granted. And the fact that the number is the same as Mike Hailwood, I don't ever put myself in the same regard as Mike Hailwood, but to have 14 TT wins the same as him, somebody like him, is pretty unbelievable, to be quite honest. And to do it I've equaled it in 5 years effectively. You know, my first win was 2018, which I got 2, and then in 2019 I got 3. Then obviously we've had COVID for 2 years, which was not ideal for me, really. I just started to win, and then it was like, nah, we can't do that for 2 years. So was not ideal. And then I managed to continue that run of form into 22, you know, and I won 4 in 22, and then won 4 again in 23. And had it not been for certain other things, maybe it'd have been a couple more. But hey, that's just part of racing. It's not always plain sailing. And you know what? I think them 4 years in particular were pretty unbelievable. The majority of things went my way for one way or another. I still had problems. I still missed out on race wins that I should have had because of bike problems. You know, in 2019 we had an overheating issue, which and I didn't finish. I didn't win the race that I was leading by 20 seconds, which was a senior as well, which is typical. In 23 we had a problem with a quick shifter and blipper, and a brake issue with the Superbike, which meant I didn't win the first Superbike race when maybe I should have done. You know, but we still went on to win 4 races that year. But I won the Super Twin race, which I shouldn't have won the Super Twin race because there was 3 guys faster than me, but they all broke down. So it was like, it's so swings in roundabouts. It's TT in particular is riding on a lot of luck as well as a lot of planning and skill and knowledge and hoping everything goes the right way at the right time. And I think I'd had 4 amazing years at the TT. I was probably due a bad year. And everyone has a bad year at some point. And if a bad year is a win, I think 2 second places? 2 second places, was it? Or 3? I can't remember. What did I win? I had two twin super and then a star. So I had a win, 3 second places, a 5th, a 9th, and a DNF. If that's a bad year for me, I think I'll have it. I'll take that.
But it is, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the level that you'd set yourself the previous 2 years.
No, and it's not the level I want to be at either.
Of course it's not.
But no one's perfect. And, you know, like I said, there was a lot of stuff going on that was outside of my control. I wasn't in a great place from hurting myself. I wasn't in a great place from health-wise. I wasn't in a great place with outside influences. And I still managed to scrape a win and a few podiums and walk away from a 80, 90 mile an hour crash, something like that. Again, if that is a bad year, I will take that. No problem at all.
Do you know how many consecutive podiums you've had at the TT?
No.
By my reckoning, it's 17.
Is it?
From 2018.
17. So in 17.
So 17, sorry. 7, no, it is from 2017, yeah. 17 consecutive podiums.
Yeah, I've not been off the podium really, I don't think, no.
Which again, the record speaks for itself. So let's put 2024 to bed now. Let's
let's forget that one.
We can do that. Thanks, mate. It was something that
hey, it's all part of life, isn't it? It's all part of learning, and it's all you're always going to take something away from it, you know, and it's part of the career that is, it's not an easy game, this. It's difficult, it's hard work, it's dangerous, it's got lots of ups and downs, and that's just the way it is.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly, and it certainly isn't easy.
When you went into the winter, there was an announcement from FHO Racing that you and Davey Todd had signed as basically the mega team, certainly for the roads, and an assault on BSB for 2025. We come into 2025, there's 810 Racing.
Yeah.
You and Davey, 2 great friends, on-track rivals, come together, still forming the same super team, if you like. How, where, why?
Yeah, where do we even start? It's actually ended up the same team that it was going to be. It's just it's just not owned by Faye anymore. That wasn't what we had planned at all. The plan was to stay with FHO Racing for 2025. However, there was, again, a lot of things that were not right, not correct. There was a lot of discussions about how we needed to move forwards, particularly as 2024 was not a good year for the team in general, not just me. Like, the whole team didn't have a great year. You know, Josh didn't get on the podium either, and he's 2-time British Superbike champion. So if he's not getting on the podium, there's something not right. It'd been announced that we'd signed, but we actually hadn't signed contracts. We'd agreed things in principle. The actual official contracts had not been signed. And then a few things had changed inside the team, which meant the team was not going to be the same team that me and Davey thought we were getting coming into 2025. So that at that point, as somebody who was signing for a team, I wasn't confident in what I was going to get as a team. And Davey felt the right way, or the same way, as I did. So we had a discussion with Faye and said, look, until we understand what the team's going to be, we're not that keen on signing right now. We're not saying we're not going to sign. We're saying, what is the team that's going to be, what are the personnel that are going to be there? Because there'd been some changes that we were not expecting, which now means it's no longer the same team that it was. So who's replacing who? How is it going to work? And until that point, and I think I'm quite right in saying, why would I sign? Because I don't know what I'm getting. So that was really where we kind of ended up at. I think, obviously, Faye's only going to be able to tell you her side of the story, of course, but also she spent a lot less time in the UK with us last year. I think she didn't have as much time to be able to give to the team as what she wanted. And that also has an effect on what the team does and doesn't do. And Faye's put a lot of money and a lot of effort into that team over the last 4 years. And whether you like her or not, because I've seen a lot of the stuff online that you guys put on, whether you like her or not, she's put her own money into that, and she's put a lot of it in, and contrary to popular belief, Daz in particular, but also myself, have tried our absolute best to steer her in the best possible way to spend the least amount of money that she had to spend. Whether she listened to us or not is a completely different story. We wanted the longevity of her in our sport because our sport needs people like her, to put the money into teams, because there aren't the massive sponsors. There's the odd ones around. There's been a few, like Gas Monkeys one, but FHO isn't a business. It's her. And it was her own money out of her own pocket. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. They think that she's a businesswoman. She does this, she does that. No, it's just her money. There is no business. The business is her spending money on racing. That's what it's been for the last 4 years. And our sport, in my opinion, has been privileged to have her do that because she doesn't have to, or she didn't have to.
No, not at all.
Anyway, I've carried driveling on now, but it ended up transpiring that we couldn't get the team together that we wanted to get. And because of that, neither myself or Davey signed a contract with Faye. And because of that, we then had a discussion ourselves about, well, what are we going to do then? If we're not signing there, what are you going to do? And he was a bit like, well, I don't know. What are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. But I didn't feel like it was right to be there. And he felt the same. So we ended up having a few discussions between ourselves and going, well, why don't we just do it ourselves then? Why don't we take control over our future and do it in a different way? Because at the minute, with all the teams really that are in BSB, it's an owner, a manager, and then riders that get employed. And also, you're fighting for your job every single year.
No question.
As a rider. So why don't we cut the middleman out, or the top person out, and be the owners? Like, what's stopping us from doing that? In Supercross in America, most of the factory teams are owned by the rider. It's actually done in a very, very different way. And it's been like that for quite a while. It doesn't happen in our sport, but it's happened over there. And what's to say it can't work in our sport?
If you can make it work and you've got the sponsors and the infrastructure to do it, why not?
Exactly that.
Take control of your own destiny.
And there was quite a few of the sponsors that sponsored FHO that were my sponsors that I'd brought to the table. Some that Dad's team manager had brought to the table as well. So there was always the possibility of them maybe staying on board. Of course, at that point when we were having discussions, we had no idea what was going on or who was going to do what, who was going to stay with FHO, what FHO is even going to do. Obviously, that's nothing to do with us. That's up to what Faye wanted to do and whoever she brought in for the team manager and all the rest of it. So we weren't entirely sure what we were going to do, but we had big discussions with BMW. Obviously, we both wanted to be part of the BMW family. I've been part of the BMW family now since 2017, every single year, which has been awesome. And I wanted to continue that. As much as I had a really hard year in 2024, I still wanted to continue it. I believe in the brand. I believe in the bike. I believe in the people that are there in the motorsport department as well as BMW UK. And Davey's in the same sort of mindset, really. So we wanted to stay with BMW. BMW was super, super keen on the Isle of Man TT in particular. So we all had discussions between ourselves, then discussions with BMW, not only in the UK, but also in Germany. And then with their support, and to be honest, without their support, we would not be able to run this team 110%. I can tell you that for nothing. BMW really put their kind of money behind the mouth, I suppose, in some respects, and said, yep, that's what we want to do as well. We think that this could be a really good fit. And we also, for them, they get some longevity. It's not about a team that could pull out next year or this year or in 5 years. You know, we want to continue for as long as we can continue for. And Davey's going to turn, well, he's 29 at the minute, so he'll be 30 later on this year. I've just turned 38. Obviously, unfortunately, I'll have to retire before him, but it does mean, you know, in particular with road racing, McGuinness is 53, Rutter's 53. So let's say I've got 10 to 15 years worth of racing in me yet.
Yeah.
I want to be that BMW team for that sort of time. And then maybe, who knows, bring other people on as I start to retire or get to the end or whatever it may be. But we've got some longevity in the team. BMW like that idea. We like that idea. And so was born 810 Racing.
I find it really difficult to understand how you've managed to do that with everything else you've got going on.
I don't know either.
Right enough hours in the day for you at the best of times with what you've got going on here with the Ovale stuff as well, with the testing, with the tyre testing and everything that you have going on. You've managed to pull a team together with DT that will challenge for Isle of Man TT wins and have a strong presence at BSB.
Certainly hope so. That's the plan. That is definitely the plan. I mean, the biggest problem for us was when it all got finalized, was just so late. You know, February was not an ideal time to have that finalized. November would have been fine.
Because you have to order the bikes, do you not? If you want, are you running 25 BMW?
It'll be 2025 BMWs.
Yeah.
But, again, contrary to popular belief on social media, BMW don't build us the bike. We build the bike. The team build the bike, and they come in parts. They don't come in as a road bike anymore. The Superstock bikes will.
Yeah.
But the actual main super bikes are built in parts. You know, the swing arms, not standard. The forks are not standard. The triple clamps are. They're all outsourced. It's nothing from BMW, really. I mean, obviously chassis, engines, airboxes, throttle bodies, injectors, all that sort of stuff. Yes, that's all BMW stuff. But even things like fairings don't come from BMW. The wheels don't come from BMW. The brakes, the suspension, it's not BMW parts. So we're relying on a lot of other suppliers to be able to give us the parts to build these bikes. And inside of 8 weeks, right as we sit here right now, the bike will run. Which, to be honest, we started with 0. So when I say that we walked away from the contract at FHO, we had nothing, not even a spanner. I know I've got PHR here, but we're not talking about PHR. We're talking about 810 Racing, and we had 0.
It's important to make the distinction between the two.
Yeah, just the way that we did it with FHO and PHR. They were two completely separate entities, and an FHO bike has not ever been built here at PHR. They had their own unit. They kept everything separate. So that way there was never, if anything like this happened, funnily enough, if we did go our separate ways, there was never that one's my toolbox. And, oh, no, I own that bike ramp. And that bit's mine. I know it's mine. There was never any of that because nothing was ever done here. And that just made things cleaner, easier. There was never any blurred lines. And that's the same way that we're going to run it with 810. Although I own 50% of 810 Racing and 100% of PHR, there'll be nothing to kind of mix the two. Because otherwise you get blurred lines and you don't know what's what and who's doing what and why. And we don't want any of that, and that's why everything was actually really clean with FHO. Again, social media thinks differently, of course. With the rumors and lies that go around, people just like to make stuff up, I'm sure. I did think about sending some rumors out myself, actually, just to see how far they got. Because some of the stuff I've read is unbelievable. Apparently, I'm getting sued for 300 grand. I mean, if I had the 300 grand, the last 8 weeks would have been so much easier.
Just scrabble around with your own spacer trying to put it all together.
Yeah. Fortunately, at least to my knowledge, I'm not being taken to court anyway.
Well, I think you'd know.
I think I would know by now.
You'd be aware, wouldn't
you? And my bank balance would be a lot nicer than what it is right now as well. But anyway, it's just a cleaner way, a neater way of doing it. We don't want to blur them lines. We want everything separate. So 810 has its own unit. It's only around the corner from here, but it has its own unit. Daz has actually ended up coming to work for 810 Racing, which was not necessarily part of the plan even at the start. When we spoke about it, he was actually going to have a complete break away from the motorcycle industry. Even at one point, he'd kind of had enough of everything. But anyway, he's ended up coming back. We've managed to coax him back into.
You've never done anything without him.
I know. But he
That'd have been a big change for you as well, though.
Would have been a massive change.
The amount of faith you put in Darren Jones as team manager and as one of your best mates,
chief,
right-hand man, everything.
Yeah.
And
chiefs the bikes, the lot.
Chief cook and bottle washer.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, he does the job of 3 people. We'd have had to find 3 more people to replace one. But yeah, he's ended up coming back in now. Andy Perks as well. He's ended up coming over as well. And we've actually ended up, my side of the garage has ended up exactly as it was the last few years, which for me is fantastic. Davey's brought his guys along to mix in with the guys that we'd also got as well. And it's all going to work pretty much how it was meant to work with Faye and FHO. But this time around, it's going to be 810 Racing. It's going to be a new era, something different. And the fact that the riders own the race team, I think, is actually a positive. I think it's going to be very different for a lot of people to get their head around. I think people struggle with it even right now. But we own things 50-50 and we do things together and from a rider's perspective, not from a team owner's perspective.
What's been the biggest challenge putting it all together?
Time and finding money. I've been really, really fortunate, or we've been really fortunate that we have got some great people behind us, BMW being one. Lynx Electrical Wholesalers, good guys. They've been with me 10 years, actually. This is the 10th year that they've sponsored me personally, but they also put money into the team, which is absolutely fantastic. Global Robots have been with me a long time as well. Over 10 years, I think, actually, for Global Robots, a bit longer. And they're putting money into the team as well as being a personal sponsor of mine. Without these sort of people, we would not be going racing. And, they're putting their hands in their pockets because they want to see it succeed as much as we do. It's going to be hard work. And these first few months are definitely going to be the worst and the most expensive because we have no infrastructure. We've got to buy everything. We've got to buy trucks. We've got to buy garage boarding and toolboxes and tools and all the rest of it. It's the people thing, actually, which is normally the hardest to sort, ended up being the easiest because we could literally call people up and be like, right, this is what's happening. This is the plan. Are you in or you're out? And everyone said, we're in, which we weren't necessarily expecting. We hoped.
You can't take it for granted, can you?
You can't take it for granted, because people don't necessarily do what you think they want to do.
Well, if there is uncertainty, they're going to look for a team where there is certainty.
Yeah, exactly that. And
regardless of the loyalty, if you can't guarantee them a season, everybody loves the sport, so they're going to go where the work is.
Absolutely. This is people's livelihoods. It's
Yeah.
not just a hobby. It's people's, people are taking a wage from this to live. So for them to commit to us with definitely at the start, a lot of uncertainty was a massive thing for me and Davey, and we needed that. And that ended up being probably the easiest bit. That should have probably been the hardest bit, or one of the hardest bits. After that, of course, finance. Finance is a huge part of our sport, whether we like it or not. And that's always going to be difficult. We don't have a title sponsor for the British Superbike Championship as it stands at the minute. So at the minute, it's coming out of mine and Davey's pockets.
Big shout out to any sponsors out there that want to join 810 Racing for the 18 season.
We've got longevity to offer you, as well as
I know
two of the best riders in the paddock, of course.
Mate, I know how difficult it is to get sponsors for a podcast. I know how difficult it is to get sponsors for a race team.
It'll be all right. Again, it's come really late. Most people's budgets are done kind of August, September time.
That's exactly right.
Following season, when we're trying to start it in February. Not the ideal situation. So, but you know what? We will make it work one way or another. It will work, and we've now secured the hospitality unit, which we've actually bought Faye's hospitality unit.
Okay.
Which originally was mine anyway. I owned it for a few years when he was at Smith's. I owned it when FHO had it for the first couple of years. They actually rented it off me. I then sold it to Faye. Faye's run it for the last couple of years, and then we've now bought it back as 810 Racing. So we've actually got the same truck, the same rig as we've always kind of had, really, and the same staff even. So the actual hospitality unit itself, which is a big thing for sponsors in particular, but also we have a lot of fans now that are able to come and buy VIP hospitality tickets, which up until a few years ago wasn't even possible. We've got a good group of people that we're looking after, and it's good to get the fans involved. And we do quite a lot with or we have done in the past, and we're going to run it in the same way. We actually bring people into our garage for a garage tour, and me and Davey will be the two people doing that. So they'll get brought into the garage, and it'll be me and Davey that talk people through the garage and how it works and the bikes. And we do that on Saturdays and Sundays. So the 2 race days that we have at every BSB, we'll be doing that, as well as then doing a riders chat in the VIP tent as well. So we really kind of look after our guests and our sponsors as much as we can do, and give them a proper VIP experience, which is what it's all about. So if you're interested in that, head to 810racing.com. Tickets are live.
I'll even make a reel out of that point, is it?
You'll not regret it, I promise.
This is what we do. You've been good enough to sit here with us. The least we can do is promote the new team and what's going on with it. Moving into 2025 and the TT, are you official BMW team for the TT? Have you retained that as part and parcel of the team for the TT for 2025?
Yep. So for BSB and the TT
Excellent.
and the Northwest 200, we are the official BMW Motorrad racing team.
Looking forward to the TT. We're not going to make it this year, which is really sad. I know they talk about expensive. We'll be at the Northwest, which we're really looking forward to. We enjoy that week up on the North Coast, but the TT, as every rider that I speak to, we haven't had a chance to do this for off track. The whole TT scenario, the whole feeling of being on the island, of watching you guys do what you do on there. What drags you back to it every year?
It's such a special place. I think the fact you can also only do it once a year is something that for me is a big pull, because that makes it extra special. The TT's got so much history. Obviously, it started in 1907. It's been going for a long, long time. The fact that you get to race around roads that's nearly 38 mile round. Where do you get to do that? Like, where can you do that? It's such an amazing place, and as a rider to ride it, it's just phenomenal. Like, I don't think words put it into reality for people. I mean, you've been there, so you've got an idea of what it's like. You understand the feeling. You've seen bikes pass you nearly 200 mile an hour, a meter or two away. It gives you that buzz that you don't actually ever get anywhere else. Now, times that by I don't know how many to be a rider. It's just unreal. And I can't get enough of it.
What I will do at this point, I have a great slow-mo of you on the Triumph, just down from the Craig.
Yeah.
And we are this far apart.
Yeah. There you go.
And it just, last year we were fortunate enough, we watched at Harold's Wall, at Gorsley, we watched at the Craig, and we watched at, I've even forgotten what it is. After Brandish, the right at the bottom where the wall.
Hillbury.
I might even remember Hillbury. And watching in some amazing places.
Yeah, good places that.
Really, really
Hillbury
impressive.
awesome.
Tell me about the feelings that you have on the bike. I know sometimes that's not easy to put into words.
Yeah.
Because mortals like me and the rest of the guys and girls that are sat around the TT course, we will never experience what you did. We can watch the onboards, the onboard of the lap record. You can barely see what's going on with it all.
Yeah. Yeah, but as a rider, it's not quite the same. Like the camera shows you one perspective, but it also doesn't give you what you actually see as a rider. And a lot of the time, I think the camera looks worse than what I see. It's super fast what I see, but I know what's coming. I know what I'm about to get from the bike. I know when the bike's going to slide and when it's not. I know when it's going to jump, when it's not. I know where the bumps are. So when you've processed something already before it's happened, it's all slows down. And this is what I've tried to explain it to people when they say, how can you see at that sort of speed? And the best way that I think of trying to put it across to people is when you first drive on a motorway and you go from your 30 mile an hour up to 70 mile an hour, it feels really fast. And of course, no one goes above 70 mile an hour, do you? Because that's the law. So we're doing 70 mile an hour on the motorway. It feels really fast. And the reason it feels really fast is because you've been doing 30 miles an hour and your brain's used to just taking in the bit of information that's only just in front of you. You get to 70 mile an hour and your brain's on catch-up mode. And it's like, whoa, what's all this information that's now hitting me a lot faster than what it was? So it feels really fast. But after 10 minutes, you quite often find yourself creeping up and not even realizing you're going faster than that. And what that is your brain is now caught up to the speed you were doing. Instead of taking in the information that's just in front of you, it starts taking in the information that's a lot further ahead of you. And once your brain starts to do that, everything starts to slow down, which is why after 5 or 10 minutes, you suddenly start finding yourself at 75 and 80 without even realizing you've done it. And you go, I'm going too fast. You have no idea that you've done that. And then when you slow down and come off the motorway and do 30 mile an hour again, feels like you stood still. But if you were to jump out of that car at 30 mile an hour, you'll realize 30 mile an hour is actually still quite fast. But the reason it's slow is because your brain's still ahead of itself and it's taken in all the information really far ahead of you. And that's why it feels slow. The exact same thing happens when you go road racing or even short circuit racing. You know, we touch 180, 190 mile an hour at places like Thruxton, but just for a very short period of time. Yeah. The difference on the roads is we sit 180 to 200 mile an hour for a long period of time. So you can imagine what that feels like on night 1 and 2. But by night 3, your brain's really like way ahead of itself, taking in information that's super far ahead, which means that by the time you get there, everything's all slowed down because you've already processed it. And when you slow down to 150 or 130 mile an hour, feels like you stood still. And that's why we have the pit lane limiters at 60 kilometers an hour. Yeah. Which is only 38 mile an hour. It literally feels like you're doing nothing. You know, to slow down to that and to slow down through Ramsey and Quarterbridge and that, you feel like you're doing no speed at all because your brain's at 160, 180, 200 mile an hour.
Do you find yourself rushing those parts in the
You can do. Yeah, you can
because you don't feel you're going fast.
You're letting go of the brake when you think you're going too slow and then you suddenly get there and go, going way too fast because your brain's ahead of itself. So, that is how it works. It's just, that's how your brain works. You get used to the speed and it doesn't feel like what it is. You know you're going fast. It just doesn't necessarily feel like what it looks like when you stood at the end of Kirkmichael maybe or Gorsley or because you've already processed it.
I remember talking to James Hillier in 2022 and James explained it in a very similar way. You start off behind the bike on the first night. Mm-hmm. Your eyes are like saucers, but by the night 2 or 3, the idea is to be 3, 4, 5 corners ahead. And it dawned on me then just how much anticipation you have as certainly on a road racing point of view, as you explained really well there, knowing what's coming is 90% of putting the lap together.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Every crease in the road, every manhole cover, but the anticipation, like if it was me, I'd be riding 6 feet in front of me.
Yeah.
But at that speed, you can't.
No, you can't. No.
So you have to have that anticipation of 3-4 corners ahead and the ability to relax. So when you're coming into, I think I always find DJs as a marker for the week. Once you can
commit
to that one, that's kind of when you feel that you're up to race speed. Was that similar for you? Do you have
I think
certain parts of the course where you go,
especially ballsy corners like that? I mean, we're talking 6th gear on a superbike, and you can do it flat. As much as McGuinness calls me a liar, you can do it flat. But fuck me, it takes a while to do it. And also, you don't always have to do it. You know, I've very rarely done it. I can do it, but also it's on the limit. You know, and yeah, that's also a part of TT that people don't realize is judging calculated risk.
I had this conversation, it might have not been it might have been 2023. Watching when TT Plus's second year, I think it was. And I'm watching it and listening to the commentary team at the time. Who it was is irrelevant, doesn't matter. But they were constantly going on about the lap record. And I'm sat there, do you only do the lap record if you have to?
Yeah.
Because, like you say, it's calculated risk. If you've got a 10-second lead, why on earth would you push for a lap record?
Why do you need to? Yeah.
The TT is one of those pure races that needs to be won in the slowest possible time. If it's a lap record, so be it.
Yeah.
But if it's a 132 that'll do it, so be it.
Or a 125 or a 120, then that's what we'll do.
Exactly. So I think that gets missed a lot.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely it does. Yeah. And like from a fan point of view, everyone loves the lap record.
Because
from a rider's point of view, honestly, none of us really care. Genuinely. Like, it's a great accolade to have. And like, I use it on my social medias and all that. But honestly, it doesn't really matter. Who really? I don't get anything for it. I don't get £1 for it.
It's not like a 147 in snooker. There's a pot for
exactly.
getting a 147.
$7,000 if you pot a 147 in
or
snooker.
a 9-darter.
It just like I don't get anything for it other than an accolade.
Yeah.
It's great to have that accolade, and I've managed to keep it now since 2018, bar for a very small period where Michael had it after practice in 23. Yeah. 23, which is awesome, but doesn't really mean anything. What does mean something are the wins. Some of them wins I've won at not lap record pace, and they're the ones that count.
That's the bit that takes a bit of understanding. Yeah, the big lady.
I don't know if you can see him on the camera. Maybe you can see him.
You should be able to see them just at the back here. If I move out of the way, just up on the back there. And I think that's important to get across because it's not always about that.
No, it isn't. No.
And the risk that goes with it
is massive.
To lap at that pace and make it happen while still trying to win the race at the same time. The risk from personal level is huge.
It is, yeah. There's some argument sometimes for the other way because you can also have a lapse of concentration. A bit like my crash at the TT last year. We've gone from kind of lap record sectors. I know we got over that, but I'm going to touch back on it now. Because again, people think that like the reason I crashed because I tried too hard. Well, actually, the reason I crashed is because I'd rolled off. Because I got an 8-second lead at that point and went, right, I need to chill a little bit because actually I had taken a lot of risk at that point. Davey was riding really hard. He did 135 mile an hour standing start. He's one of 2 people to ever do 135 mile an hour standing start, and I am the other person. I did 135.5 standing start after a really bad TT, so I was definitely on fire for the senior. He did 135.1. On lap 2, I'd pulled out from 2.5 seconds to 8 seconds in 2 sectors. I had a pit board and went, right, chill for a little minute because I'd taken a lot of risk. I'd had some moments, got away with them. I say got away with them. I had some moments that could have gone in a different direction if I'd not controlled them in the way that I controlled them. And I was like, okay, chill for a minute. Got a little gap. Let's just consolidate, have a little breather, get to the pit stop, and then we'll go from there. And unfortunately, corner later, I rolled off too much, didn't weight the front properly, and then took the front and down I went. If I'd stayed on the pace that I was on, I wouldn't have took the front.
Yeah.
It was almost a rookie error, to be quite honest, but it pretty much summed up my year, didn't it? So, or at least my TT. So sometimes there's definitely an argument for keeping pace and not rolling off too much. But as a general rule, you win the race at the slowest possible pace, and that isn't a lap record pace.
Did the crash flick a switch with you for like, I'm done with this year now, we've got to finish, something's got to change? Was there for want of a better word, was there a wake-up call in there, or was it just part of a longer process?
No, it was part of the longer process. It wasn't at that point that I was like, I'm going to have to change everything. It was just part of the process.
When you do a 1:35.5 on a standing start, and then you go ahead and you compare that to the lap record, which one takes more risk?
35.5 standing start did.
Why? And how?
Why and how? How is less brake, more throttle, which generally means you go faster. You
didn't have to be like that, did you?
Yeah, I mean, the standing start, the thing with the standing start is tyres are not up to temperature straight away. Full tank of fuel. You're cold. You've not done I think we had actually done a warm-up lap last year. Don't know. I think I've blocked out TT 2024 from memory. I'm normally pretty good with my memory, but not on the minute. You're still cold though at the start of the race. You're just getting into it. So to do a 35.5, bear in mind there's only 3 of us, I think, that have done 35s in history now. To do that as a standing start, you lose, I don't know, 4 to 6 seconds off the start or something like that. I don't know exactly, but we crossed the start line on a flying lap at 175 to 180 mile an hour. So to start at 0 with a full tank of fuel, because also the other thing with the flying lap is you've lost 12 litres of fuel, which is a lot of weight. So the bike's a good 10 kilos, 9 kilos lighter than what it is at the start. So to be able to do a 35.5 standing start, you have got to be on the money immediately and pushing hard in a lot of places. It's difficult to do. It's actually difficult for me to do. I'm not great at being fast immediately. I'm a builder.
Is that something you've had to change over the years as Michael's fast from the start?
Yeah.
Davey's fast from the start.
Generally, yeah.
Dean has always been one.
Really fast at the start. I just struggle to do it. It's not me. It's not how I am naturally. I have to build into it. And I'm still that way now. So if I am fast on lap 1, then generally I'm in for a really good race. It's the same as a weekend, like a BSB weekend. If I'm fast on Friday, generally I'm in for a mega weekend because all I do is I just get faster and faster and faster. Yeah. Normally I start a bit slower on a Friday and get better over the weekend. So it's something that I've tried to work on. I've tried to change, but naturally my body and brain, not my body, my brain doesn't allow me to do it. And if I try and do it, generally I end up on the floor.
You can't force it.
You can't force it, and, things like 2018 when I went straight on at Braddon Bridge on the lap 1, that was me trying to force it, and my brain's just like, nope. And I make a mistake immediately and I have to build myself into it. So yeah, it's just how I am.
When you get to I'll go back to that one. How do you build up for a TT fortnight? Everybody has a different way of mentally preparing themselves for what they're about to do and have the 2 weeks on the island. You are traditionally relaxed. Everything is a place for everything. Everything in its place. Nothing seems to faze you while you're on the island is the outward persona.
Yeah.
How do you plan and prepare for going to the island every year?
I don't actually think about it too much, believe it or not. I'm a great believer in overthinking does you way more harm than good. Yes, you need to prepare, but I'm riding bikes all the time, so I'm prepared in myself, and I'll think about whatever's next. And there's been people say, "Oh, you're not as good at BSB for the first couple of rounds because you're thinking about TT," and just a load of bollocks, to be quite honest. I turned up at BSB because I want to win. And I want to win at round 1 as much as I want to win at round 9 or 10 or 11. It makes absolutely no difference for me. And why would you turn up to a race and not try as hard because you're worried about a race 2 weeks, 3 weeks later? Doesn't make any sense. What you're actually putting yourself in more danger.
This goes back to what you said about the TT rolling off.
Yeah.
You can't race at BSB at 90%.
No, it's not possible. You can't race at 95% either. You've got to race at 100%. That's the bikes that actually only work at 100%. They don't work for. Look at the crash. Like the reason I crashed is because I didn't push the bike hard enough. And a superbike in particular, they're dead stiff, they're dead rigid. They want to be pushed. They only work when they're being pushed. And if you don't push it, you go down. So for me, if you don't want the risk, don't turn up. You know, and I go racing because I want to race and I want to win. And I think the best preparation for me is to be at BSB and to be doing the Northwest before I go to the TT, and that's why I do it.
What's your favourite part of the course? I know that's a fairly easy question.
Start line to finish line.
You are one of those
Really
that enjoys the whole course.
Yeah, I just enjoy riding bikes. Like,
yeah.
I absolutely love it. And I could ride some bikes around the car park here and I'll be quite happy. I could ride all there all night, no problem at all. Get one of my Avalis out and I'll ride round in circles, no worries. I just like riding bikes. If I really had to choose somewhere, I would say Kurt Michael, because you get to race through the village at 180 mile an hour, feels illegal, and it's not, and I like it.
The seal of the head-on shot through Kurt Michael. The
Just
TT do a great job with the TT Plus now. The coverage that we
it's
get
getting better and better.
is just incredible. It raises your profile, sponsor profile, team profile, everything you got. It's more media commitments. Chris Pritchard on stage as well to tickle your ears.
Honestly, TT is on a massive incline at the minute.
Agreed.
It's had 400% growth since the start of 22. 400%. What the fuck? It just, wow. It is unbelievable. Its trajectory at the minute is just stratospheric, and it's got interest from massive stars of the world like Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt and these box to box that Brad Pitt owns, and all these film crews and companies that have started coming over the last couple of years. It has got, I mean, they're people that can influence the world, not just the tiny little island or the UK, which is also a tiny island, really.
It is in the grand scheme of things, isn't it?
They are people that have a huge influence on what the population of the world watch and understand and know or don't know.
Do we know when the box-to-box production's out?
I don't know.
That's a shame.
It could have been an exclusive then, but no.
No. Which, for those of you that don't know, you've had the top guys have had film crews following them, haven't they? Up to the lead up to
the lead up to TT
and through the two and after it as well.
Yeah. So there's a 4-part documentary series coming out. I would have thought it would have come out before TT this year, but that's probably looking increasingly unlikely now. It seems though I don't even know when it's coming out. And I would have liked to think that I would like to know when it's coming out.
You'd like to hope that it's coming out anytime soon.
And we're at mid-April, and I would say, if we don't know now, I would say it's probably not going to come out before TT. But when it does come out, I've seen bits of it, and it looks epic. And it's been done in the right way, I think. And
that's important.
And it's a really important thing. And I said this about the TT film. I'm sure you've watched the TT film from 2022. I was really, really impressed and happy that a proper production company had done it, because every bike film that you ever watch is just a bit cheesy and a bit naff and it's not been done by a blockbuster.
But also made by people that don't get it.
Yeah, maybe so. And
or they have an agenda. The one that's just been out about the road racing that's just come out.
But I saw the title and was just like, oh,
that's exactly what I mean. Yeah. Why would you call something Ride or Die?
Yeah.
When you're trying to promote road racing, it's not the way. And that's what I mean about people who don't have they don't get what you guys do and why you do it. The most important thing is why you do it.
Well, the production company that came in 22 and filmed a lot of that, which obviously included this bike behind you, the Gas Monkey bike, they did a great job. You know, that TT film for me was, and you'll find it on TT Plus, unreal. For me,
$23.99. Ready for this year?
I think you can watch the film for free. I think you just sign up. You don't even have to pay for it.
But also make sure you pay for the TT Plus, because that is good money. I know there's a lot of shit going on at the minute about TNT and all that kind of thing. I mean, I was going to blame TNT for your team starting.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah, it's
blame TNT for 2024.
I think they did such a good job of it. And it was produced well, and it looked good, and it looked really cinematic, which is not how bike films normally are portrayed. You know, they always look like, and I'm sure it was still done on a budget somewhere along the line, but it didn't look like it was done on a budget. And for me, that was something that we need in our sport, because a lot of the time I think it does look like it's done on a budget, and it winds me up. And the guys that did that film did a fantastic job. And the guys box to box now that did Drive to Survive. So if any of you, and I'm sure many of you have watched that, you know, the production company doing that is box to box, and they are all box to box take it. It's really complicated how it works. There's a film crew that do it, and the film crew that did Drive to Survive did the TT last year. It's the same people, and come into it fresh mind, open minded, all seem to absolutely love it and enjoy it, and put a lot of time and effort into it, as did all of us that were part of it, with no paycheck, might I add. We've done it off the back of us wanting to promote ourselves and promote the TT and promote our sport. And it took a lot of time and a lot of effort, but for the bits that I have seen, it looks the bollocks.
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it will be out before the
well,
time.
hopefully,
fingers crossed. It was going to be the best promotion possible.
Yeah, and I don't know where it's even going to be shown. Like,
okay,
it's going to be shown on something big. I don't think it's going to be on TT Plus. I think it's going to be much, much bigger.
I think it wants to be Netflix. If you can put quarterback, receiver, NASCAR, golf, tennis, gymnastics.
Exactly. But any of them,
miss something.
You know, Netflix, Amazon Prime, NBC's,
Go on, keep
what's
going.
everyone on?
Discovery Plus.
Discovery Plus, yeah. TNT. That sort of thing. That's where it needs to be, because that is mainstream, and that is where people that are don't currently know about TT can find the TT and go, I want to go there. I want to see that. That's what we want.
And also the casual viewers, then there will be a knock on for BSB as well, because they can go and see you and Davey
every couple of weeks
as well,
BSB
every 2 weeks around the country.
Absolutely that.
So there's a knock on for that as well.
And some of that filming was done at BSB, because I've seen it.
You were there.
I was there.
Your TT fortnight, you are in demand.
That is probably the biggest understatement of the year so far. Thanks. I'm probably my own worst enemy, because I say yes.
You say yes to everything, like doing this at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night.
But, and there's a lot I do say no to, and I hate saying no. But it's promoting me at the end of the day. And the more that I promote myself, and the more that I promote the team I'm with and the manufacturer I'm with, the more I'm going to get out of it. And the more my sponsors get out of it, which means hopefully they also give me more, and I get more from the manufacturer, I get more from the team. So the real winner is me. Yeah, I have to put the effort in, but you know what? I put a lot of effort in to try and get a lot of reward out of it. And the reward's not always short term, it's long term. And I like to think that from ever since I've ridden really, but from 2014 onwards with the TT in particular as a focus, if you like, I've put a massive amount of effort into it. And I've put a massive amount of effort into promoting TT as well as myself and the brands I've been associated with. And you know what? I get a lot of stick from certain people about it, but fuck you. You know what? I put a lot of effort in it, a lot of work into it. And sometimes people like Gas Monkey coming in on board is because I put that effort in, and we got a massive global brand come into our sport because of it. That's why I'm doing it.
And you're a long time retired.
Yeah, you are a long time retired.
So why not put the effort in now?
Yeah.
Because it's not handed to you. You've got to work at it. The same, all the top riders have to work at it. It's how much work you want to put in versus the rewards that you 100%. Can gain from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost that easy.
Yeah.
But with the Netflix and with that documentary and everything that you do you get time to relax at the TT, or do you prefer it being full on because it keeps you occupied?
I generally prefer it to be a bit full on. TT sometimes can be very hard. Last year was a tough one, probably more so because of 2 weeks wasn't going my way, which then makes all them other commitments worse. But that just is what it is. I think if I had too much downtime, I think it would not be good for me. I'm somebody that likes to be pretty busy anyway. It can be hard work. Well, it is hard work. I think at some point I'm gonna get Fifi, my girlfriend, to follow me for a day, getting up to end of day, getting to sleep. Maybe even at BSB, because I think people would be really surprised at just how much is going on. I'm pretty sure people think you just get up and ride the bike and then go and have some lunch, and then we'll ride the bike in the afternoon. And it doesn't work quite like that, you know.
But even more so now as team owner.
Yeah,
there are other commitments that come on top of that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. No, I don't think so. Not as team owner so much. We'll just tell Daz to do it.
That's why he's coming back.
Delegate.
I haven't got where I am today by not delegating to Daz mainly.
Please ask Daz. Yeah, I don't think so. Not as a team owner so much. I mean, I think Daz will probably have to take the weight of that while we're riding. But yeah, there's a lot that goes on to it, and I think a day in the life of a BSB rider, and someone probably like myself that does put a lot of effort into it, and a lot of effort into seeing the fans even. And you know, I do my own merchandise, which is run by my guys, and I do my own signing session there, and then I've got pit walk, and then I do a garage tour, and then I do the talk in the hospitality unit, as well as doing warm up and doing the 2 races on a Sunday. And I've got to do my debriefs, and I've got to understand what we want to change and how we're going to change it and how we're going to get forward. And yeah, it's a full-on day. So I think kind of doing a point of view, Fifi following me around with a camera, right from getting up to having breakfast and to going to sleep on a night, I think might actually be quite an interesting YouTube video.
I think it'd be worth looking at. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one thing that you haven't got round to doing yet is
and then maybe we can
form YouTube channel.
And maybe we can kind of incorporate that into TT one day as well. But
I think that would be just incredible because of how it all works and because of the setup and the scrutineering for the bikes and for what the boys have to do in the team. But then the media commitments and the sign-ins and everything, because for the ladies and gentlemen that have never been to the TT, it's very different to a short circuit race because your awning is open all the time. You are, and this is same for all the riders, you are visible 98%. In fact, the only time you're not visible is when you decide to put your leather, to put on the bike or to put your leathers on.
Yeah.
And to get changed and to get ready to go out, because the rest of the time there is always a gathering outside your garage, outside Davey's, all in, shall we say, garage.
Yeah.
And then you go up into Parc Fermé into the top paddock where not too many can get in, but there are still VIPs and media up there. Chris Kinley, all the TV people that are coming around and wanting a piece of Hicky.
Yeah, it's pretty full on. Yeah, it's pretty full on. But again, I think I'm definitely better when I'm got something to do all the time. As much as sometimes I can be like, do I really have to? I think, I need that push to keep going, because I think if I had too much downtime, I'd go the other way. I think, the adrenaline, the highs and lows of TT anyway is massive. And I think mentally, I think I'd crash earlier if I had a proper rest day. You know, a rest day is not a rest day at the TT for me. It's pretty flat out all the way. But
in the build
that way,
it is. I think it suits you. I think that way.
Yeah.
Some others want to go off on the beach with the family and have a complete separation from it.
Could get away from it.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the TT. Everybody is different.
Yeah, we're all different as human beings anyway.
Yeah.
You know, we've got people that don't want to talk to anyone and just do their own thing, keep their head down, and then people like me that actually, I'll talk to anyone. It really doesn't bother me. In fact, if anything, I really enjoy meeting new people and chatting away. So, you got opposite ends of the scale of people and everyone in between. Everybody enjoys that.
It's that social thing, isn't it? It's contact. It's people, whether you see it when they come up and they sign an autograph or they pass a little comment and you acknowledge them and they go away happy. And it is, whether it's yourself, whether it's Michael, whether it's Dean, Davey, that side of it, the human side of racing is so important.
Yeah, it is.
Because you're making somebody's day.
Yeah.
And you see them go off and do what they do. And then you're up onto the Glen Crutchery Road.
With a race face on.
Dropping a clutch and away. And I forgive my listeners and viewers. I ask this question of everybody that I come to with the TT. That no man's land. Once you've had the pat on the back from Daz and you're paddling through, you get to the arch. You've only got 10 seconds-ish by the time you get there. Tapman's got his hand on the shoulder. What are you thinking?
Not a lot. I'm normally thinking about fuel. Once we get into the no man's land bit, read the board, check what's on it. Is there anything I need to know? Is there anything I need to be aware of? Is there a corner that's got damp patches, or maybe it's had an oil spill or whatever? So that'll all be written on the board. And of course, you've got to remember that, even if it's 36 mile away. You got to remember when you get there.
Yeah, it's down at Governor's.
Yeah.
That's 16 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to go on between now and then. I'm thinking about fuel mainly. I've got the bike sub to temperature. I've got the bike off, actually, most of the time through that no man's land for me. And then only when the bike in front goes to do his 10 seconds, so I'll have about 20 odd seconds before I go. I'll then start the bike, trying to keep as much fuel in the tank as possible. And I'm just breathing. I'm breathing in through my nose, out through my mouth, nice and relaxed. I'm going to try and run a heart rate monitor this year, which I think will be quite interesting. I think it's going to be really interesting. I actually have a really low heart rate, but not when I'm riding. My heart rate is actually quite high when I'm riding. But like when I'm sat here right now, I'm probably around 45, 50. It's really low. Yeah. And when
That's incredibly low.
When I sleep at night, I'm like into the 30s. So I have a really, really low heart rate, but I know that when I'm riding, I'm like above 180. So I go from like one extreme to the other.
Do you have a large lung capacity as well?
Good question. Not sure, but I would think so.
Because going on, I enjoy cycling. I follow cycling quite closely. And you go back over the years to Miguel Indurain. He had a really low resting heart rate, but he had big lung capacity at the same time. Yeah. So he didn't need to breathe as much to get the oxygen in.
Yeah. Which is why,
which is why he could do what he did.
And obviously I'm 6'2", so I'm a big guy anyway. So maybe I do have a big lung capacity. I know that my heart is really strong and pumps a lot of blood very easily. So maybe that's something to do with it as well. They call it athlete's heart. I can't remember what it's called now. There's a certain term for it, but
which for somebody who's never set foot in a gym barely,
pretty much. Yeah, I hate the gym. I do go, unfortunately. I cycle as much as I can do. My biggest problem actually is time to go and do any sort of exercise, because I'm trying to organize and run everything that's got going on. But I do push bike a bit. I actually bought myself a new bike.
Excellent.
Through last year, that was actually one of my things to get my health into a better spot, for mentally as well as physically. There was lots of stuff, like I said, going on. But I bought myself a new bike for the first time in 12 years. I do a fair bit of cycling. I like to do more if I could do, but time is the biggest problem for me always. But I do go to the gym, unfortunately. I hate it, but anyway, I go. Got a local gym here, Ryan, that he always looks after us, called Feel Good Gym. He's been mega, to be quite honest. So I do as much as I can do. There's always more to do, and especially getting older as well. Like I'm 38 now, like we said. It's only going to get worse, isn't it? So I've got to try harder and harder each year.
I'm saying nothing,
but yeah, I have a real low resting heart rate. Always have done though, right from being young. I used to. Well, I've had an operation when I was I don't know, what was I, 12, 13, somewhere around there. I had an operation, and I kept setting the machines off all the time because my resting heart rate was so low that I kept bringing the machines off. But it's obviously just the way I am.
What's the biggest difference between Peter Hickman middle of April 2025 and Peter Hickman middle of April 24?
What is the biggest difference? Technically self-employed.
I kind of meant mentally and physically.
Yeah, mentally and physically, I'm in a much, much better place. Yeah. I'm pretty much back to my old self, really.
It's great to see it. It's great to see it. I'm going to get the because I'm aware of time, and I'm grateful for you sparing the time to let me come across and
that. I made wait long enough. So how long has it been? How long have we been trying to get this? And I've cancelled how many times?
12 years we've been waiting for this.
12 years. That's a lie. That is a lie. I've definitely cancelled you for the last month.
The last month or so, but it's been fine though. We first started talking about it pre-Daytona.
Yeah. That was 2 months ago. No, it was a month ago.
It was a month ago. But I'm good with it. I appreciate you're a busy man. So we made it eventually, and it was ideal before the start of the season. So this will go out after the Donington test.
Okay.
So the Wednesday
Next week.
of Alton Park.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Because we've got Alton Park tests coming up as well, haven't we? We've still got 4 days of testing before the start of the season.
Yes, although we won't be at Donington Park.
You're not doing the Donington Park?
No, we're not quite ready. Do you know what? We probably could make it, but then it's going to be a rush.
Why stretch yourself?
Exactly.
When Alton's more important because you race there the following week.
And we would rather turn up to a test even, ready. Not, we've finished it at 2 a.m. this morning because everything came late. And because
it sounds great. It sounds great for commitment, but then you go, like we said, you go straight to Northern Ireland off the back of Alton Park, so you've no time to come back here to prep the bikes. So you might as well take those extra days. That makes sense.
Yeah, we've kind of, as a team, we kind of said yesterday to this morning, we were like, it's not going to happen in time. Let's not turn up half-assed. We want to turn up ready.
We don't want lads going into the season knackered.
Exactly. Yeah,
they're going to be tired enough before they.
And not only that, let's just say we got the bike together, we get it to Donington Park, but bearing in mind it won't have been ran.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, actually, there's a problem here because of that, and because we didn't missed it because we were running late, and then what you're going to do? You're going to spend loads of money at Donington. You're going to, it's going to be a 5 to 10 grand test.
Yeah.
And you could end up with nothing. What's the point?
The weather doesn't look great as we sit here.
I don't know. I don't look at the weather, but whether weather's good or bad,
you're still going to ride it.
It was too much of a rush.
Yeah,
and we don't want to turn up rushed. We want to turn up calm, settled. Bike's been on the dyno properly. We know the bike's in a good place. We'll go and turn up and
as a brand new team, your first impressions are so important.
Exactly. I mean, we still don't have garage boarding. We still don't have a truck at the minute. Got a hospitality truck, so we can feed everyone. We just
that's all right.
Haven't got a truck to put the bikes and all the kit in.
Everything's turning up in a Sprinter.
It might well be. In this moment in time, that is exactly what it is doing. And for Alton Test, that's probably still how it's going to be. But hey, we'll cross that bridge when we get.
Cross that bridge when you get to it. I've got a few questions from our great patrons.
Good.
Click more in the description. The link's in there below. The patrons help us out every month, which we're super grateful for. It allows us to come over to Louth and do great things with Hicky like this. So thank you to all the patrons that are currently paying to help us out. The first one, Simon Breeze. Where do you see the future of the BMW as a production race bike, especially with the recent rumours of their involvement in MotoGP?
Are they going to MotoGP? That is a question. I actually don't honestly know. When did I go to Munich? I was in Munich. I'm trying to think if it was this year or last year. I think it was the end of last year, and it was still a discussion then. It wasn't a decision either way. Where it's at now, I honestly don't know. I think BMW are putting a huge amount of effort into their M1000RR. It's a new bike again for 2025. Probably more new than people realize. There's a lot of changes going on. From what I can see and what I can understand, they're putting a massive amount of effort into that sport bike for the coming years. And that's not the next couple of years. They are 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 10 years ahead with development and R&D and what they're doing. So from what I can see and what I understand, I think BMW will be looking at sports bikes still for a good while yet.
I think that...
And that's regardless of whether they go MotoGP or not.
I also think with the rumours that have come out this weekend out of World Superbike that the rumours are Top Rack's going to go Honda. He wouldn't potentially look at that if BMW were looking at putting a MotoGP team in.
Who knows?
Well, they've also had Sylvan and Bradley as test riders as well, haven't they? So that's made, again, a big difference to the 25 BMW. Now we'll see the fruits of their labours coming through for what they've done over the last year or so as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you for that one, Simon. Maggie Day, as you are one of the taller riders, does that make a difference around a place like Cadwell compared to a shorter rider who might find it easier to negotiate the small UK tracks?
Yes, actually. Size and weight actually has been a big discussion over the last few years in World Superbike and as well as in BSB. As a taller rider, obviously I'm always going to be heavier than a smaller rider. The honest answer is there's fors and against all the time. Obviously, I've got leverability. I can move the bike around a lot more. So somewhere like Cadwell Park, I can really manhandle the bike around a lot more. So through the gooseneck, through the bottom of the chicane before the mountain, actually the mountain itself, all the hall bends. Like a small rider is going to have to work a lot harder to get that bike changing direction, especially a big superbike as they are now.
Yeah.
Having said that, they also have a weight advantage because they've got less weight, so they have less inertia. So the bike accelerates faster, it stops faster. You put less load through the tires, so the tires don't wear out as fast. But then, as a rider, they've got to put a lot more effort in. Some tracks will always suit a small rider. Some tracks will always suit a big rider. I always find the tracks that flow are tracks that are better for me because I have less stop-start. And when I'm 15 to sometimes 30 kilos heavier than some of the riders on the grid, that's a lot of mass and inertia that you need to move. Somewhere like Thruxton, for example, even though it has chicanes, they're quite fast, flowy chicanes. I don't lose out. Whereas we go to places like Alton Park, where you got Britain chicane, where you get the thing stopped and then start again up over that hill on the run to Hizzy's, which is then another stop-start. I always see the jump that a smaller rider will get, which I find frustrating. But then I always get it back in the other areas where I've got to flick the bike.
Yes.
I can always flick it faster and harder than they can. So again, there's that for and against. I guess as a bigger, taller rider, I'm always going to say a small person's got more of an advantage. And I'm pretty sure if you ask the smaller guys, they'll go, oh no, if you're taller, you got way more of an advantage.
I wish Taz was sat next to you now.
Because that's exactly what he'd be saying. Or Coops has it.
Coops as well, yeah.
Coops will say the same. He's like,
well, as a PHR rider, let's have Coops.
And he is a PHR rider. And, he'll always say the same thing. He's like, he finds it really frustrating when people go, yeah, but you're fast as a straight line. And he's like, yeah, but I have to put a lot more effort.
Well, he's not a drag racer.
He's not a drag racer, exactly. So,
but also as well, from your size as a regular human being, Coops, you have to be careful with muscle mass as well.
Yeah.
Because the weight again is all in the muscle is heavier than fat. So
yeah, it is. Yeah.
You've got to be as lean as you can be at the same time.
And I struggle with
the strength.
Big wide shoulders that I've got because I'm naturally quite big and muscular. Like if I actually did train properly in the gym, I put on weight like so fast.
Well, I think that'd be detrimental.
It is, and I've been there and done that with previous team owners and managers. They've drilled me into going to the gym and had a personal trainer and immediately I put kilos on. Like I went the other way. I went heavy and I got really bulky. I struggled with arm pump, which I don't normally struggle with because my muscles were too big, which were then blocking the
constructing the flow
in the hand and. It literally did the opposite of what everyone thinks.
The only thing it looks good in front of is a mirror.
Yeah.
But from a professional
motorcycle racer point of view, it was the wrong thing to do.
Maggie, thank you very much for that one. Andy Dickinson. I mean, this one, I know part of the answer to this one because it doesn't work that way. Andy Dickinson, what is it they put in the Lincolnshire water to produce so many top-class riders? And could you bring me a bottle of it to round one at Alton, please? Where were you born?
I was born in Burton-on-Trent. Yeah, I wasn't born in Lincolnshire. Although I've been drinking Lincolnshire water since I was 10.
Exactly.
So maybe that's what it is.
There you are, you see.
Could be. I don't know. I don't know why Lincolnshire's got so many bike races. Apart from Lincolnshire is the biggest county in the UK. So I'm guessing it's always going to have more catchment area. I think there 700,000 people in Lincolnshire.
Something. It's not massively populated.
Not massive population, but massive area.
But good people come from Lincolnshire.
Absolutely.
Albeit from the west side.
Yeah, I know. I've been adopted Lincolnshire.
Brilliant. Thanks, Andy. Mick Strickland. With a team that has both Peter and Davey in, it has to be a strong contender for BSB in 2025. Both are incredible motorcycle racers. I didn't pay him for this, mate. These are all Mick's own words.
Sounds like you need a tenner.
What do you think you can do differently this season as a team owner that you couldn't do with FHO? And do you think it will improve your chances of finishing higher up, challenging for podiums? That's a fucking great question.
It's a great question. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything that we can pinpoint and say, oh, well, we wouldn't do that. We'd do this. I think just in general, being in charge of your own destiny is a different feeling anyway. I mean, it's definitely not going to be easy. And I'm pretty sure, David will have disagreements at certain points as well. I mean, particularly as sports athletes, that can be quite highly strung. We're actually very similar, me and Davey, though. We're very chilled out people. We're kind of a bit like, whatever.
Season hasn't started yet.
Yeah, the season hasn't started yet, and we haven't got to TT yet either. Where we're really going to be like, that is the big thing for us. But also, because we've had that slight negativity aimed towards us a little bit as well, saying, well, how can you be two athletes that are against each other and work together? Because we're not 12. Yeah, we want to beat each other, don't get me wrong, but we're both going to have the same opportunities, and it's going to be down to us on the day to be like, all right, who's better then? And I think, honestly, I don't see it being a problem. We're going to rip the piss out of each other, whoever does beat each other, but we actually also, we're quite happy for each other to see each other do well, and a lot of people struggle with that. And I saw an interview with Scott Redding recently where he just can't get his head around racers being mates, and everyone's different. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to absolutely let him have it if I need to. I mean, if you see, even in New Zealand, I give him a right note. In fact, I broke my wing on my bike. I hit him that hard at one point at Manfield. If we're racing, we're racing. Like, the visor's down, we're no longer friends.
And he feels exactly the same. It's still one way. It feels exactly the same, yeah.
But at the same time, we're a team. And the idea of the team will be to be first and second going on to the last lap. And we sort it out on the last lap, and that's just how it is. And we're both grown up enough that we can do that. And I don't think there's any one particular thing that we're going to do different to how it's been in the past. I think just the fact that we're in charge of our own destiny.
Yeah.
We're very chilled out people that want to do a good job. We've got great people around us as a team. I think we're just in a better place.
Is it easy to look at DT as a teammate rather than a business partner?
Yeah, I think
because you've had Josh with you at the TT last year, who did a great job with the FHO team last year, second in the senior. You still want? Are you going to be able to raise each other's game? Is that
so.
What it's?
Yeah,
what it's going to be about as well?
Yeah. I think we can actually help each other and understand, even at Navarra, like we went and rode at Navarra at the BSB test on our Superstar bikes that both me and Davey owned personally. They were just our personal bikes that were already in Spain because we've been riding out there. We were stronger and weaker in different areas of the track for different reasons. And if you look at some of our reels and stuff from Instagram, you'll see us talking about that. I mean, there's some proper behind the scenes video footage there of us coming straight off track and going, oh, where did you find the time then? Oh, I did this and I felt like that. And then, we're actually like talking to each other about it. And we rode on circuit a bit together as well. And like, he was really strong in certain areas. And then I'd actually drill him back in another area. And then when he followed me, he was like, oh, through here and here, you were like holding me up loads. But then the next bit, you like disappeared. But then I drilled you back again. And the next, like, we learned from each other where we were both weak and where we were both strong. And we can use that to our advantage to both raise our level and both be better and stronger as riders and as a team. And I think that is where our strength is going to come from.
HN Racing on Instagram. The one thing with Davey, he isn't that experienced on a BSB bike.
No.
He did, I think, 3 or 4 rounds with Paget's.
Yeah, he didn't do many rounds with Paget's.
In 23.
Yeah.
So really, he's still coming into this on the back foot and as a bit of a rookie. He can learn so much from you from a BSB perspective, the Motec electronics, the setup of I know he prefers the super stock setup on his Superbike as well for the roads. He said that on the podcast last year. But you kind of can't do that too much on a BSB spec bike. There's certain things that have to change and have to stay a certain way. So there's a lot he can learn from you going into BSB, because everybody says, I bet Davey's going to be doing this, this and this. He's still got a lot to learn and a lot of experience to gain doing that.
Yeah, he has. On a Superbike, he's not got that much experience. As a purebred proper Superbike, as in BSB trim. He did ride the Taz bike at the end of last year. He did Alton Park on it. I can't remember where. Did he do Donington as well at the end of the year? I think he might have done. There was a point where Rory was injured. Definitely did Alton Park. I know he did Alton Park on the Superbike. So he has ridden a BMW on the Motec electronics. He's just not ridden it very much. yeah, I think there is going to be a lot that he can learn from me, and but it's still going to work the other way as well. There's vice versa. He's also going to come in with no preconceived ideas. He's going to come in like fresh.
Clean sheet of paper, isn't it? I like
clean
that.
sheet of paper, and you know what, that can help as well. I can learn from him as much as he can learn from me. I think it's going to be really interesting when we finally get going to see where we're both at and what our feedback is on what the bike does and doesn't do. And it's an exciting time for me, to be honest. Yeah, a change is as good as anything, and I'm looking forward to it.
Feels like it's lit a different fire in you.
I think it has, yeah. And I think the fact that it's now half mine as well, I really want to kind of to quite a few people.
Message loud and clear. Brilliant. The second one from Mick Strickland. I think this is another great question. What advice would the Peter Hickman of today give a Peter Hickman at 16 years old?
I like don't be so nice.
Okay. Why?
I think generally through my career, I've just been too nice. I've not, but it's just my nature. I like to think at least I'm a nice person. There's been certain times when maybe I should have just stood up for myself a little bit more, and there's been a lot of times when I've kind of just gone, whatever, and walked off. When maybe I should have just stood my ground and been like, nah, this is for me. It needs to be like this, and this is why, and I want this. And I've kind of maybe gone with the flow a little bit too much sometimes. Apart from that, I don't think there's that much. I mean, you only learn from your mistakes, and mistake isn't a mistake. It's a learning curve. Every day is a lesson.
What I say on the podcast a few weeks ago, we're a sum of the parts of all the people we've ever met.
Yeah, I like that. It's good.
Perfect. Thank you, Mick. Bob Barton. After listening to the Pipe Dream podcast with James and Corey, you spoke a little about racing in the US. Daytona looks mega fun, but would you maybe be tempted to race in the US full time and run a team with your Triumph over there?
After them telling me how much it was to run a Supersport team, I don't think so. The big thing with America, I mean, it looks amazing. I'd love to go and do some rounds. Who knows? Maybe even love to do a whole season. The big thing there is travel. The travel expense is astronomical. Corey said in that podcast, to run a one rider Supersport team is $2.5 million US.
It's an unbelievable amount of money.
We're going to run the British Superbike team on less than that.
Yeah. It's with hospitality. Because they don't take hospitality, do they?
They don't even run hospitality. No. We're going to run a hospitality team, which costs a lot of money. It's 6 figures to run that hospitality unit for a year. That we're going to do that and run the race team on a substantial amount less than that. It's it's surprising, but the BSB team is going to be about $1 million to run the team for the year. That's pretty much what it's going to be. Where it's going to be.
Ballpark figure for a BSB team, isn't it?
Your ballpark figure for a 2-rider BSB team is around $1 million, and that they're running one Supersport rider without hospitality for $2.5 million US. So
some 1 3/4.
Yeah, just under 2 million.
Just under 2 million quid.
Mental.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't be doing things like that.
So on that, if I pay for it, no.
Just quickly, before the next question, thank you for that, Bob. Just something I think that's quite important. Tell me about the relationship with Triumph that you have.
Yeah, it's slightly not difficult. Difficult's the wrong word, but I have to be quite careful with what I do because I'm also a BMW contracted rider.
But does that not make it slightly easier because they don't build a specific Supersport
So that's
bike?
how I've always seen it.
Yeah.
They don't see it like that.
Oh, really?
No, both the brands, they're not too bad. Like
Triumph don't build a Superbike. BMW don't build a Supersport.
So that's
bike.
how I've always seen it myself, but that's not how they see it as companies. And obviously in different markets, they're very much rivals. And that's where they see it as. So I have a great relationship with both. I do a lot of the Triumph stuff with PHR Performance as a company rather than as a person myself or as a rider myself.
Okay.
And it's done that way to be very politically correct with, and to be fair to both companies and give both companies what they need out of it. And to not annoy anyone. I have to be a little bit careful with not treading on people's toes, and I want to be fair to everybody, and I feel like I do a pretty good job at that. And I would like to think that both companies could sit here right now and say, yes, we're content. They might not always be very happy, but content with what I do for both brands.
Here's a bit more rope. You give yourself a little bit more slack in it.
Yeah. But yeah, the Triumph thing's been great for my business, as BM has as well. We've built quite a lot of BMW Superstock bikes out of PHR Performance as well, and we're an Alpha Racing official dealer, which nearly all the BMW Motorsport parts come through.
Yes.
There's a lot of Alpha parts on these bikes right here, and we build bikes the same as these out of this facility and go to customers all over the country and the world even. So, but yeah, the Triumph thing at the minute with the sport bike class that we've obviously done with Richard winning the championship, one of a few races. And we've built quite a few bikes for other people in that championship. I think there's 10 bikes on the grid this year in sport bike that are all Triumphs, and they've nearly all come out of here. We build the parts from as well, the triple clamps and the links and all the rest of it all come out of this place. You've seen a little bit already.
It's an incredible setup.
We are, as much as I hate the term one-stop shop, we are a one-stop shop, basically. You can do anything you want here. CNC machines, lathes, graphics, dyno, engine room, workshops, suspension. You name it, we've got it, really. I think the only thing we don't do is paint.
There's time.
Yeah, there's time. There's time. I'm not doing it. We're not going anymore. We've got enough. But yeah, we do a lot of stuff, and we're really happy with where we've gone so far with the Triumph stuff. Not only the 660 Daytona, but also the 765 stuff. Obviously, at the TT, we've got the fastest ever Triumph around the Isle of Man TT. In fact, that's quite a nice accolade that I've got at the minute. I've got the fastest ever lap for a BMW, obviously. I've got the fastest ever lap for a Triumph, which is 130.2 mile an hour, super sport bike. I've got the fastest ever lap on an MV Augusta.
Of course,
the 675 that's up there, the F3 that I own, that's up in the conference room here, is the fastest ever MV Augusta around the Isle of Man TT, 126 mile an hour.
Brilliant. I still find 130 on a super sport bike mind-blowing.
Yeah, obviously only me and Michael have done it, and we've only ever done it once each.
Because that's the only time you've had to do it.
Because it's the only time.
It goes back to early part of the conversation. Yeah, but as you're talking about the Triumph and the BMW, when you've got a GS 1200 and a Rally Pro, that's the same market, and yeah, I get it when you look at it from that point of view.
Yeah, I never looked at it like that. I was like, well, you don't make a superbike and you don't make a super sport bike.
No, but we make a 1200 Rally Pro and we make a 1200 GS.
Yeah, that was the argument I got given straight back to me. I was like, okay, when you say it like, I get it.
Yeah, anyway. Last couple of questions. Craig Lowe, what's left on the biking bucket list for you?
Oh, good question. I really want to race Spa-Francorchamps.
Is that one of the places you haven't done yet?
Yeah, I've been booked to do it 3 times, and all 3 times something else has happened which meant I couldn't do it, including dates being moved by BSB, which were provisionally put out at a certain date, which meant I could do it, and I got booked to do Spa, and then the dates moved and clashed.
Oh, man.
As it stands right now, I can do the 6-hour amateur race in September, so I am provisionally penciled in to do an event there, if it all comes off the way that I'm hoping it comes off, which will be awesome. So that's something that I really want to do, because it's a circuit that I find fascinating and, again, steeped in history, and I'd really like to do it. Mugello is also somewhere I really want to go and ride. Oh, there's 1,001 places I want to go and ride. Laguna Seca, Imola. God, there's loads, but I'd like to do some more, whether I ever get the opportunity or not. Being an old boy now, I don't know. I'd love to do some more World Superbike in other countries.
Yeah.
I've done 4 World Superbike rounds in total in my career so far, 3 of which have been in the UK, and 1 in the Czech Republic, which I loved. And I've probably done a bit better, actually, at World Superbike than people give me credit for as well. What are my results in World Superbike? 9th, 11th in my first ever World Superbike event, which was all right. I qualified 4th in 2019. Finished 7th, and a DNF with a technical. And then we rode the FHO bike in 22, but it was on Motec.
Yeah.
With BSB electronics, basically, which was nowhere. But then I rode
That shows the Gulf then,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it
does. Difference.
I actually was, in one of the sessions, I was fastest down Craner. I actually, red sector 1. So I was quite happy that I did that on a BSB spec bike.
Brilliant.
But we finished nowhere. I think I was like 20th or 21st.
There's just a massive difference between Morelli and Motec.
From the Motec can do that, but you have to open it up.
Yes.
And we didn't have the time. We tried to. Again, it goes back to that half-arse in it bit. We tried to do it. The team looked really good. Professional World Superbike are actually really quite impressed at the team and actually the level the BSB teams are at.
Yeah.
I think there was a few people that were a bit like, oh, that actually looks really good and really high level. But yeah, the difference in rules meant that the bike is night and day different. But I managed to actually ride the Van der Mark's bike later that year in Most in Czech Republic, which I'd never been to Most before. Great track. Not ideal to jump in a World Superbike event, having not known the circuit, when you only get 2 40-minute practices to learn it. I think there's 23 corners at Most. It is super complicated. Anyway, I finished in points there, which I thought was pretty cool.
It's not bad, is it?
That year I won a BSB race, I won TT races, I won at the Northwest, and scored points in a World Superbike race, all in 2023, which is pretty cool, I thought.
Has it been done before?
Probably. I would have thought so. But
maybe back in sort of the
modern era, no, definitely.
Not in the modern era, no.
Definitely not, but yeah, racing and winning all them sort of events in 1 year and scoring points then in a World Championship event, for me, was a big tick.
Superb.
It was actually winning a TT and winning a BSB race in the same year was a big tick for me.
That's huge.
Yeah, was it 22? It wasn't 23, was it? It was 22, I think. I'm sure it was 22.
You got me thinking now. My notes are down.
Again, normally my memory's really good, and at the minute, my memory's shot to pieces because I've got so much going on.
But we'll take that over the physical. Excuse me. We'll take that over if that's what's lacking this year.
Yeah.
Versus this time last year, we'll take that.
Yeah, we'll take that.
We'll take that completely. What circuit, race, or moment would you most like to relive for the first time again?
Oh.
Our patrons are brilliant with questions.
Yeah. I am going to go with 2018 Senior TT.
Excellent. And the final one, thank you for those, Craig. The final one from Chris Turner. Which section of the TT are you most wary of?
Several. Probably bottom of Bagara. It's the section that torments you on the way down to it. You can see it come in, you know what's about to happen. And it's fast and yeah.
That was the other place we watched from last year.
Bottom of Bagara.
Top and bottom.
Yeah. Impressive, isn't it?
I can't even.
No, yeah, no.
Honestly, of all the places we watched from, that was the one that you can't quite process.
Yeah.
Because everywhere else that's Hillbury, Craig, and Gorsley is just fast.
Yeah.
Gorsley's stunning. Unbelievable. Sliding, and it looks great from behind. But that at Bagara,
with
so steep.
Yeah, and with the turn that you've got, the jump before the bottom, so you actually land in the bottom.
Because the momentum carries you into it, doesn't it?
I mean, it's 5th gear on a Superbike. It's so fast, so fast.
I have the videos. It's ridiculous. And the very last one, which bike from history would you love to do some laps around the TT on?
I don't know. Which bike from history? I managed to ride one of the Rotary Nortons already on a parade lap in 2015. So my dad was a huge part of the Rotary Norton era from the late 80s to early 90s. That was, I got to ride Steve Spray's bike as well, which was really cool. You know, my dad hadn't and built that from pretty much from end to end. And I got to ride that in 2015 Manx Grand Prix, but it was a parade for the Nortons.
Wonderful.
And I did a lap on it. That was pretty cool to be able to do that. What would I like to ride around the TT? Just too many to list. I'd love to. A bike I've never ridden that I really want to ride is a proper Grand Prix 500, like an NSR 500 or a YZR 500. Proper Grand Prix here from like mid 90s to late 90s. Proper thing.
Is anybody out there that can make that happen? You know where to get hold of it.
That would be lovely, thanks. Clive's definitely got some.
Clive's definitely got speaking.
You're holding out on me, Clive. Stop it.
There's a YZR 500 with your
Definitely
name
is.
somewhere.
There absolutely is.
We know there is in his workshop somewhere. Last question from me, Hicky. And thank you, mate. This has been brilliant. I've loved every minute of this. And I hope you guys and ladies and gentlemen at home.
I hope you have too.
I'm sure they will.
I'm not boring.
Not a chance. Not a chance. And you fucking know you're not. What's your best hire car story? That's not a leading question either.
It wasn't a leading question. People are going to say the Northwest, but it wasn't me for the 4 millionth time. But anyway.
I know you weren't there.
I was in bed asleep.
And that's not been pre-done.
Do you know
That's
what?
just a bottom line.
I actually wish it was me that crashed that car at the Northwest, because it had just made my life so much easier. Because I'd just go, yeah, it was me.
What? Yeah, exactly.
Why would I say not? I don't
put your hands up to it and go, yeah, it was me. And you go, oh, well, can you not?
Yeah. I don't get why. Why would I say it wasn't me? I don't understand. If it was me, I'd just say, yeah, I was a dickhead. I did it. But it wasn't me. It was a different dickhead.
It was a different dickhead. That wasn't a leading question for that. Okay. I'm glad you've addressed that, but it's a genuine question.
Honestly, nobody will believe you anyway.
But, nah, true enough.
They won't believe you because no one does. Best high car story. I've got several. Most of them probably can't say.
And on that bombshell.
Funny. Do you know what? Really funny ones that are really stupid and like idiotic is like pulling the handbrake on when you're doing 70 mile an hour down the motorway because you're in the back of the car and you just yank it on without the driver knowing. And then you end up with 2 flat spots on the rears and you go for the next 4 days that you're in the high car. And you go, why did you do that on day one?
Don't do that on the way back to the
airport. Yeah, you meant to do it on the way back to the airport. And for some reason, a lot of us have no patience.
That's unusual, having a motorcycle racing with no patience and, oh, look, shiny. I've got to do something.
Yeah, do something.
You're not calm people.
No, not normally.
Pete, best of luck with 810 Racing.
Thank you.
For the BSB season, for the TT, for the Northwest, everything you've got going on this year, the Triumph, the R7, the Stocker, the Superbikes, everything here at PHR Performance.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's more to be announced. You'll see.
He fucking tells me that now. Ladies and gentlemen, the brilliant Peter Hickman.
Thanks. Cheers, guys. Cheers, mate.
Thank you, mate.
You're welcome.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as Pete and I did. Thank you so much for Hicky for his time at PHR Performance late on a Tuesday night. It was a real privilege to sit down with him and talk about the things that we did. And as I say, I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Coming up next week, it's a Bennett's British Superbike 2025 season preview with myself and TNT Sports commentator Steve Day. It's been a long time since we've had Steve on the show. In fact, it was just audio when we last had him on. So it'll be great to have him on a video, albeit remotely from the far east of England, and talk about the runners and riders for the 2025 season. Really looking forward to that one. And then the week after that, while we're at the Northwest 200, we have former world Superbike contender Aaron Slight. Another great chat coming your way, and I can't wait to bring Slighty to you. He's an absolute joy of a chat. So until next time, thank you so very much for watching. If you enjoy what we do, as we've asked before, please remember to subscribe. But until the next time, please do look after yourself. Bye-bye.